question just a little bit?
How do you deal with skepticism, negativity, and resistance when you're presenting your concept to people who can't wrap their head around it?
Absolutely, absolutely. So having started the Valhalla movement, going out into the middle of a cornfield and planting a tree at 23 years old, everyone thought I was crazy. And I think many people up here have had the experience of being called crazy before. But really that term is a story. It's a story that they have learned that this is the path, this is the way that things work. And anybody who challenges that story is now starting a new story. And the easiest way to convince somebody who's a skeptic is not to go to them and preach and then go and tell only your side of the story and just not listen to their side of the story, but in fact, to go out there and tell a story of your own personal experience, not imposing it onto other people, but really your own personal experience and how it has affected you, and whether or not they should consider this new story. And we've seen people adopt the ideas of permaculture, earthships, sustainable lifestyle in ways that I never would have imagined possible, with people I never would have imagined possible, including people like my own mother, who thought I was absolutely insane. And we're changing that narrative not by forcing them to believe something different, but by showing them that we believe strongly in what we're doing and it's working for us.
Thank you. Les.
I'll just go real quick then with two perspectives on it. Number one, I don't condescend to them. I think that's a big problem, is we get a lot of holier-than-thou sort of self-righteous because we've got the answers, and we're doing this right, and we get that condescending tone, and you see it here, there, and everywhere. And I don't condescend to them because they have their point. And my second point, which sort of derives from that, is they can turn the finger back on me really, really quickly. Look where we're sitting. We're all, half of us probably own cars and drive them. I'll be on an airplane tomorrow. I'm wearing clothes and operating camera gear that took transportation and smelting and industry and all that stuff, So I can, and I do hate Monsanto, absolutely. But so I try to do my part. But I think for me, in a nutshell, is I don't condescend to those people. And number two, I remember that it can be turned back on me very, very quickly because we do not live in teepees anymore, and we don't walk around in loincloths picking plants for a living. So you have to remember that.
Wise words. Thank you, Les. Lawrence.
I would ask myself why it bothers me to begin with. And then secondly, I believe that there is a voice for every single person, a unique voice that they will resonate with. In the same way that there are elements of the periodic table that just will not bind together, I think that there are people that will just not bind together. And I think what I say to myself is there will be a voice for this person. And I'm just going to continue doing what I'm doing because I truly believe that it's the example that will set the stage.
I'm trying to remember exactly what the question was now, and the reason I'm trying to remember it is that I saw it as a multifaceted question, because I think you've got different audiences, you've got different types of people to deal with, you've got different subject matter to deal with. So I really approach it depending on who I'm talking to, whether it's an academic colleague, another faculty member, whether it's a student, whether it's someone in the general public, whether it's a friend, etc., and what the topic is. So without going into great detail, I'll give you one example. I teach undergraduates, among other things, and sometimes I'll mention that I don't eat genetically modified food. I really don't eat genetically modified food, even to the point, some of them know this, when they took us out to dinner yesterday, I did not eat of it. They had to take me to Whole Foods ahead of time so I could buy a few certified non-GM things that I would take with me. So I'm not trying to make myself as a martyr. I just do it as a practical matter because it makes me feel better, both mentally, psychically, spiritually, and frankly, I get sick from genetically modified food. But I'll give you, for instance, when I say this to students sometimes, and I talk about it a little bit, and I tie it in with their lessons that I give them about biology and the microbiome and etc. Sometimes they're very skeptical, and I say, okay, how about for a paper, because I'm going to make you write some papers anyway, you can research it for yourself and see what you come up with. And so many times I've had students, and I just use this as one example, that they research something, oh, shocks at such and such, they thought it was crazy because it goes against everything they've learned, and they come back and they've done the research now, we discuss it, we talk about it, and some of them come back and they're like totally converted, and they want to create organizations on campus to be anti-this or that or whatnot. So I think in some cases it's really challenging someone to really look into it for themselves, come to a decision, really educate yourself. Don't just accept what society tells you. Don't just accept who so-and-so said, but really explore the topic. So that's one part of the answer in some cases, but I don't think it's a question that can be answered in any one simple way, because there are different audiences, there are different subject matters. So I've said more than I should at the moment.
Really want to take a stab at that question?
Yes, I do. Well, when you get to be my age, one of the things that happens is you remember back 20, 30, 40 years when you thought something completely different than you think now. And it's easier to forgive other people for being dense if you can remember.
For myself, it's been a unique journey. I grew up off of a reservation. I grew up in urban settings as a Mi'kmaq woman with a single mother and a little sister. And I returned back to my community a couple of years ago. And when I returned back, I was bringing trailers of tires into my community, and I was occupying land in the First Nations community, which was unusual. It was a rare thing. No one has done that. Where I went to our leader, to our chief, and with my mother, who's a clan grandmother, and she said, my daughter needs a home, and my granddaughter, and we need land. And the leader didn't give us a hard time. He said, absolutely, where she had the TP camp, she can have that land. I'm entitled to that land, technically as a First Nations band member, but for someone to take that initiative to occupy land, to build a home that is off fossil fuel and that's going to support my family and I, and my mother as well in her aging, was controversial with the people in the community. Wondering, what are you doing? Why are you bringing garbage here? Why are you bringing strangers from different parts of the country here? And what are you doing? So I really seen that as great opportunity. I did not grow up in my community, but they are my family. It was an opportunity to learn from each other and to teach and to get to know one another on a whole other level. My community members had an opportunity and a place to go to learn more and to see what I'm doing and to know a bit more about who I am and why I'm doing what I'm doing in regards to housing crises and water crises in First Nations communities across this country and throughout Turtle Island. It was an initiative and it was a scary one, especially coming into a community that I wasn't born and raised in. But I have a lot of love and respect for everybody in that community, and I really feel that this is a solution and it's an answer. So I welcome the skepticism because I really feel it's an opportunity for me to look within, go a bit deeper, and really look at those questions as well, because I really would like to be able to provide an answer or at least have those conversations and learn something from that. So I always see criticism as a learning tool and a learning opportunity for myself to grow. And now everybody in my community knows what nurship is, so I guess we really came a long way.
Resistance there. Michael?
Well, there are things on this planet that are unarguable, so skepticism just melts away, and that doesn't even have an effect. Like the sun, nobody who is skeptical about the sun, who starts arguing with the sun. And so I call these things unarguables, and I just lean as far toward unarguables as I can. Sometimes I almost make it, most of the time I don't.
That sounds like a new series, Unarguables. Thanks, Michael.
For me, along the journey of finding my airship, it's been a lot about sort of putting it out there to the world that it can happen and it will happen. And I was just in the hallway with Michael showing him a piece of mail that I sent to him in 1997 of, I wanted to build this, and I was in just finishing college, or just starting college, and so my girlfriend at the time, which is now my wife, didn't believe that this was a good thing to live in a garbage house, and I'm sure lots of people that you preach this to think, it's crazy, and so just, putting it out there for the last 20 years, I'm now there, and we're building it, and it's a lot thanks to what Michael's done, and people like you that are interested in it, sort of keeping, put that energy out there in the world that it can happen and it will happen.
Well, as a psychic medium, I've dealt with a little bit of skepticism. I go straight into the arguables, Michael. Luckily, because it's a little freaky, most people do it behind my back anyway. So I don't have to hear a lot of it. The way I handle it, I have two things that I do to relieve stress and to give myself. I run like Forrest Gump, and I do stand-up comedy, and those two things help me to deal with any of that. The other thing is that, of course, for the first few years I did this, I was a little concerned that people would believe me. And after a few years, you just start to not care about that. It's not about them not having a good experience. If somebody isn't ready to accept it, I don't have the time or energy to try to help them understand. So I'm there to work with and help and be present for the people that can think beyond the box. And I pretty much just ignore the other stuff. That's how I do it.
Sounds good to me. You wrote that.
My answer would be live your truth, and you will know what it is by, as Kelly said this morning, listen to your intuition, your gut. Answer questions politely, and let the skeptics speak. That's all.
I think we're all at different levels. They say there's a shift on the planet and a certain level of enlightenment and awakening. And we're at different levels. We're fortunate here today to be of the same mindset as the lady said. And we must respect all people, their opinions, their beliefs, and we must not be condescending, as Les said, and we shouldn't let it affect us in a negative fashion as well. It was said here that look at it as a means for going deeper into oneself and what it is that we do. But always look at things in a positive way. And you can look at skepticism in a negative way if you wish, but look at skepticism as an opportunity to improve what it is we do.